The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a strong frontrunner for Game of the Year, let's talk about it. So I'm quite a few hours into our latest jaunt into Hyrule, and I think it was obvious to a lot of people that Tears of the Kingdom was going to be a strong release. But with the breadth of iteration that Tears has undergone since its Breath of the Wild roots, general perspective on this game has transitioned from caution concerning the amount of new content in the game compared to Breath, to a consensus forming that Breath really feels like a beta test in comparison to Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild was a favorite of mine ever since I first played it back on the Wii U and rose to the ranks of one of my favorite games ever made, and easily one of my favorite open worlds ever designed. Tears took the formula from Breath and improved on it in almost every single way. First off, let's talk about the world. I'm not too far into the story and I won't mention specifics, but I'll mention locations. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. This world is awesome! Hyrule has undergone significant revisions by itself. However, when the sky and the vast underground system is taken into account, Tears of the Kingdom feels like a massive step for the series. Let's go top to bottom. The sky. If you asked me for my aesthetic preferences, this opening area would essentially be it. It's colorful, aesthetically diverse, and consists of a cool sky continent, which is one of my favorite biomes. It takes what made the Great Plateau such a, well, great tutorial in Breath, and retrofits those design principles for the new tools in your kit with Tears. It introduces you to the 4 key mechanics that you will use this time around. Ultra Hand, essentially creative mode, where you can construct various vehicles, combine parts together, and make whatever you have at your disposal. Fuse, which lets you fuse, get it, your weapons and shield and arrows together with other weapons or items for various effects. Ascend, which lets you burrow upward through various surfaces, and Recall, which reverses the time flow on a particular object, sending it back to where it came from. It can be used on various projectiles or in the overworld to solve puzzles. These 4 abilities make up the cornerstone of your puzzle solving repertoire, and honestly, I think they are some of the most fun and creative abilities I've ever seen in a video game. Breath of the Wild worked due to its non-linearity. It threw you into this wide open world and said, here's your Sheikah slate, it has some abilities for you, use those on top of what you find to do whatever. Go, baby bird, fly from the nest. Tears of the Kingdom abilities are far more widely applicable, and really lean into those non-linear aspects, which lets you do what you want. Make your own weapons, extend weapon durability, thank God, create various effects, and construct creative solutions to puzzles. They put the onus of the interactions in the world on the player and let you collect various items you can Ultra Hand later on, even if the world doesn't supply them in a specific location, like fans or rockets or whatever. You can just take those with you, if you win them in the gacha. But yeah, you can just have a collection of these things and use them whenever you want. The intro area is amazing at showing you one by one how to utilize each of these abilities and how many options are open for you, the player. Hyrule is, well, Hyrule. It will definitely feel and look familiar to you if you played Breath of the Wild, especially recently, but there are significant changes made to it that breathe a sense of newness into it, such as chasms, and just environmental changes in general. And when combined with abilities like Ascend, Ultra Hand, Recall, and Fuse, the way you interact with Hyrule is fundamentally different, which is key. In my opinion, the formula for making a long-form open-world game work is to keep the world feeling fresh and new throughout, especially when you are going to use that world again in the sequel, like in Tears with Hyrule, giving you abilities that fundamentally alter your perspective on how you interact and navigate throughout this world, changes how you play in that world, which gives it that sense of newness that it's sorely needed, so as not to outstay its welcome or feel repetitive from Breath of the Wild. Granted, it's early for me, and I've spent most of my time in the sky or in the underground, we'll get to that, but what I have explored of Hyrule felt different enough to me to still be engaging even though I had just beaten my replay through a Breath right before Tears came out. Not joking about that, by the way. I beat Ganon in Breath like 2 minutes after Tears launched. I forget if they announced the underground as an entire section, but I figured they'd be small little areas or something. False. This underground portion I found underneath the Great Plateau just kept throwing cool stuff at me, and opening up more and more. I wondered what those glowing mushrooms would be used for, or if they'd just be used for, caves. In the underground, you can barely see. It's pitch black, and you can shoot those mushrooms off onto various surfaces with your bow using the fuse to light up parts of the giant cave you're in. Don't stand in the gloom, otherwise you could lose hearts down here. You'll get them back, don't worry, on the surface or when you find and ignite a light root, but it feels menacing down here, and I love the vibe. Going from the heavily saturated vistas of the sky 1 minute to paragliding down into a chasm, I found, and then having to deal and learn with this entire new slice of the world was a great experience, and the underground keeps you on your toes. It doesn't throw danger at you all the time, but it leans on its atmosphere and the fact you can barely see to create a sense of uneasiness that I'd probably liken to Tomb of the Giants from Dark Souls, where you feel comfort in your small little pockets of light, but you know danger could lurk not 5 feet from you. It's not annoying either to navigate, which I tend to find is an issue for severely dark zones like this, because you can just walk slow to win, which is annoying to me. However, here, you can just spam those light mushrooms and really illuminate things, but still maintain that atmosphere that this zone is trying to instill upon you. I loved constructing minecarts with fans and batteries to take me to new parts of the underground, and leaving the safety of my dozens of light mushrooms I used to see with before. Legit, a fun example of Ultra Hand can be found in these catacombs. See, I did what we call a risky play, and then I attached a rocket to one of my minecarts, and that thing got launched, and I had to scramble to recover in the middle of nowhere. It was pretty great how Tears just allows you to have those natural moments of discovery, because of the way you mess around or test things out with its sandbox. The game is honestly a potential creative wonderland. My one slight complaint so far with the sandbox is for most situations I've encountered, it feels like there's an obvious correct solution as to what to build, but I'm going to chalk that up to early game and them just holding your hand and making sure that you can solve each puzzle when you get there. But I know as I expand my battery and get more items in storage, the builds I'll be able to utilize are going to be wacky. I really want to try and build a wing platform with a bunch of rockets and batteries, and see if I can just clear the map in one glide. I think I can, but I want to try that at some point. And that's the beautiful thing with Tears of the Kingdom so far. The fact that mindset can be allowed and is nurtured. Tears, much like Breath, relies upon a general design principle I talked about before in regards to what makes a great open world game. The world itself is the content. It isn't just filler or a glorified loading screen. No, the selling point of this game is its open world and creativity. It's a sandbox. It understands this and leans into those creative, non-linear elements to put the player in a position to experiment and discover interesting combinations. Each engagement against packs of mobs or bases is fundamentally different because of this. You could scavenge weapons there on site and see what you can fuse together, like a stick with a giant spike ball, or utilize what you got, or fuse what you got with what you find, or fuse stuff with your arrows like Keys Eyes for homing arrows, or Fire Seeds for fire arrows, or Ice Jelly for ice arrows, or whatever. Let's talk about combat, because this is my least favorite aspect of the game so far. I don't know what it is, but this combat just has not clicked with me. I think it's getting there, but I don't know how to explain it. I can go from Sekiro and Bloodborne and just parry everything under the freaking sun, and then it's like a Three Stooges sketch whenever I try and parry in this game. Like, it's starting to click with me in Tears at least. The fuse mechanic is a great system and has helped in that regard, but let's just say I don't play Breath of the Wild or Tears because of the combat. It's a strong suit for many, and I do agree it is drastically improved with the incorporation of the fuse mechanic, but playing these games always just ends up making me want to go play a game like Bloodborne or something. And I think I pinned down the reason as to why, and it's that sometimes the game really wants you to play at its pace with the parrying and the perfect dodges, while for me, if I'm not playing at my own pace, there's just a disconnect there for me. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's just like oil and water, you know? It's just not clicking for my preferences. But then I'll come upon moments like approaching a pack of sleeping bokoblin at night, so I fuse a fire arrow together and blow up the explosive bales, wiping out half of them, and I mop up the rest. I have a great time with it. I think it's something I've realized the last few years with me in games, and it's just that I have no patience. Moments like the bokoblin bank in the river let me plan and play the way I want it at my own pace, whereas fighting certain enemies feels like it's all just grinds to a halt in terms of the pacing as I wait to try and parry and dodge, which are two things I'm trying to get better at in this game. But even then, I'll come across a boss like like that Minecraft bro up in the sky that's just a bunch of blocks that fuse together to make various forms. And I love that fight, because it makes me use Recall and Ultra Hand in interesting ways. Sure, it ticked me off before I figured out how to Ultra Hand it correctly, but still, there's just something that's not clicking with me in terms of the combat. Again, not blaming the game here, it's just more of a me thing. But just something I've been thinking about ever since replaying Breath of the Wild and having those same thoughts continue into Tears. I think I just need to default to a more aggressive playstyle and only parry and dodge when I need to. That tends to flow better for me, and I think the thing I'm most on the lookout for in the future are twofold. Dungeon design and boss design. Both are things that left me woefully unimpressed in Breath of the Wild, but if the iterations to the open world are any indicator, then I'm really optimistic about what could come next for bosses, especially after fighting the block bro I was just talking about. That was a really cool boss, because again, while I largely had to fight at its pace, I had to solve its essential puzzle using the tools in my kit in interesting ways, which I found fun. But yeah, I think I'll definitely make a video later on, after I have like an anime training montage on stream or something with the combat, and just give like updated impressions about that, and see just how wacky this gameplay formula can really get. Because honestly, the customization with the fuse mechanic is such a good aspect to its game. I think Fuse and Ultra Hand are two of the best additions into any Zelda game. They really changed the game up, and I love that for them. But yeah, those are my first impressions of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload in the future. Stay safe, have a great day. Leave a comment down below with your first impressions of Tears of the Kingdom. How you liking it? How you not liking it? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.